As parents, one of the biggest jobs you have is teaching your children how to resolve problems effectively. We live in an era where everyone is quick to act the fool over simple issues. Jamaica's arbitration law, which was revised and took effect on July 7, 2017, is said to be a game changer in the settlement of commercial domestic disputes, as well as being a major source of foreign exchange earnings from the settlement of international trade disputes. This week on Issues and Answers, we will find out more from the International Arbitration Center and the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce about how this law will aid in the country's development. You're watching Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson. Stay tuned as we seek to educate and inform you. Conjunctivitis, otherwise known as pink eye, is caused by viruses which enter the eye through contaminated surfaces such as your hand, wash rags, cosmetics, handkerchiefs, contact lenses, and other personal items. Symptoms include redness, watery, itchy, and/or burning eyes, as well as hypersensitivity to light and grainy feeling in the eyes. To prevent pink eye infection, do not share makeup, eye drops, wash rags, towels, or pillowcases. Also, avoid coming into contact with persons with pink eye. If you experience symptoms of pink eye, wash your hands with soap and water regularly. Avoid rubbing the eyes and see your doctor. Do not attend school, work, or other crowded places until the infection clears up. For more information, visit the Ministry of Health website moh.gov.jm. Joining us this week is Secretary General of the Jamaica International Arbitration Center, Dr. Christopher Malcolm, and Trevor Ferron, CEO of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce. It's time for Issues and Answers. Thanks for joining us for Issues and Answers. I'm Ian Bourne. Today we want to talk about arbitration. Yeah, it might seem like something esoteric, but it is not. It is something that can be a big money earner for Jamaica. We have two gentlemen who will tell us more about that. We have the Secretary General of the Jamaica International Arbitration Center and the CEO, and that is Dr. Christopher Malcolm, and the CEO of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Trevor Ferron. Gentlemen, good to have you on Issues and Answers. I want to start with you first, Dr. Malcolm. The concept for this International Arbitration Center, Jamaica International Arbitration Center, our revision of our arbitration law has made this possible and has made Jamaica more attractive as a location for the settlement of arbitration disputes. Give us the background to that and how this law has prepared us.
Well, the center, in terms of the genesis of the center, it actually started since about 2003. So it has been long in coming in terms of the work on it. And in fact, I was reflecting on my way here that the real implementation work for it started at a conference at Jungle Bay Resort in Daly's, Dominica in 2005. I was there presenting to the judges of the Eastern Caribbean Court at their annual conference. And I met up with and spoke to a colleague out of Canada about what it is that we could do at regional level to inspire and support our developmental agenda. And this was one of the areas that started. So there were several discussions flowing out of that coming on that led to us working to getting the center up. Part of that work included, of course, working with persons who have started the work before. I can't claim that I was ever the first person to be working to getting the change to the law, of recognizing that we had laws across the region, including Jamaica, which were archaic and not supportive and facilitative of arbitration. And in the context of Jamaica, I decided to get a little more involved in it. And so we started to work then and have worked with successive governments since. And this ultimately led to the governments themselves doing very hard work and work which is at the highest standard, I would think, that ultimately led to the implementation of the Arbitration Act 2017.
Which replaces a law that was, from what, 1900?
It replaces a 1900 Act which was itself based on an 1889 UK Act,
Yes.
English Act. And that law was considered to be no longer useful in terms of being able to promote international arbitration and to be attractive to persons generally because it had so many loopholes in it. And so what we have now done and what we now have in place in Jamaica is a new law based on the UNCITRAL model, which is a United Nations International Convention for Trade Law. And they have established a model which pulls together best practices globally. And that model has been accepted in over 70 countries worldwide, and Jamaica is now the newest member. In fact, if you were to go to the UNCITRAL website, you'll see Jamaica as the most recent addition to that family of UNCITRAL model law countries. And Jamaica's new law came into effect on the 7th of July, and we now have what we can proudly say is among the best laws in the world.
And how has Jamaica been positioned since the passage of this law? How are we seen internationally? And what have been some of the indications of this new light in which Jamaica is seen in terms of arbitration?
Well, even before the new law was passed, while we were in the process of getting there, the world was already taking attention. So, for example, the Global Arbitration Review, which is a leading, the leading publication, the Bible of publications in this area. In 2017, well, they had shortlisted Jamaica for having been one of the biggest arbitration movers in 2016.
Is that so?
And that was, we were shortlisted for two reasons. One, because of our move towards implementing the new law, and secondly, because of the establishment of this new arbitration center. And we were shortlisted with India, China, Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai, and those countries. India eventually, it's a very prestigious list. India eventually won the award, and this award was presented in Milan on the 28th of March of this year. But persons were starting to notice and are wondering what is happening in Jamaica. And I personally have been receiving emails and requests, LinkedIn and other requests from all over the world, Pakistan, as far away. I got one even this morning from Tehran. Persons are simply wondering what is happening. We just had a conference concluded. We had somebody, for example, coming from the Czech Republic to try to figure out what it is that we're doing in Jamaica and what lessons they can learn from what we're doing. In a sense, it reminds, of what happened when Lee Kuan Yew came to Jamaica.
Yes.
To see our model and
study the model.
Because the truth is that the model we have been taking, for example, with this arbitration center, which is to move away from simply looking at a brick and mortar, to instead create a strong administrative background, using a virtual space as a place from which we will essentially operate, is a model which moves away from the high carrying costs of having a center, knowing that as you build out, it will take you in an event to 3, 4, even more years before you start seeing any real return. We just can't afford to do that. But we can afford to build a strong infrastructure. We can afford to build a cadre of practitioners who are as equipped intellectually and otherwise as anybody you could find anywhere in the world. And we're getting there. We've been doing that over the period.
Absolutely. Mr. Ferron, the JCC's involvement, what is the connection between the JCC and the Jamaica International Arbitration Center?
Well, to begin with, arbitration is one of the pillars of the International Chamber of Commerce, which is in itself one of the drivers of arbitration practices and rules worldwide. So we have a familial relationship as a member of the International Chamber of Commerce. We also have, through Dr. Malcolm, that entree into this world of arbitration, which was unfamiliar with most of us at the chamber, but which we knew had the promise of being able to assist in the settlement of disputes domestically in the first instance, to ensure that the process of dispute resolution, commercial dispute resolution, could take place quickly. Because the court system does have its deficiencies in terms of, and even with the setting up of the commercial courts in more recent times, you do see the opportunity for businesses to have their disputes settled as swiftly as possible, so they can conduct their businesses profitably. So we have developed a partnership with the JAIAC, the Arbitration Center, and ourselves and the International Chamber of Commerce. And the most recent manifestation of it, as Dr. Malcolm pointed out, was a very well-attended conference that took place on Monday here in Kingston, and brought together people from all over the world, with Jamaicans from, many were from the legal area, the courts, the bar association, what have you, but also people from other professions who wanted to understand how they could fit into the framework of arbitration.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we'll talk about the benefits to Jamaica, the economic benefits to Jamaica of having this arbitration center, and the benefits flowing out of our update of our arbitration law. We take a break, but we'll be right back.
Want to know the law pertaining to renting a house? What about the procedure if you're arrested? Or what is defined as corruption? Then click on the Ministry of Justice website. It has information on every law passed in Jamaica. The House of Parliament portal also has the more recent year's pieces of legislation. The sites are easy to search and the files are downloadable. Make access to justice your business. Know your rights.
Welcome back. We're talking about arbitration, and Jamaica is becoming a leading arbitration center. We have with us the Secretary General of the Jamaica International Arbitration Center, Dr. Christopher Malcolm, and the CEO of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Trevor Ferron. And want to come back to you, Dr. Malcolm. Tell us about the economic benefits, the potential economic benefits of Jamaica's having this international arbitration center, and our potential for, pulling people from all over the world who would want to come to Jamaica to settle their arbitration disputes.
Well, I start with this. Very often we speak about arbitration as a dispute settlement mechanism. I speak about the dispute management process. The distinction being, management is end-to-end. So you get to the point of helping persons to better organize their systems, to be able to leverage the dispute settlement and to bring greater certainty. Uncertainty in legal dispute settlement is one of the greatest problems in businesses. And if you can bring predictability to that, you're creating greater certainty, which means people have better control of their cash flow and everything else. So there's natural economic benefit there. But getting more specifically now to arbitration and what it can do as its own industry.
That's right.
Arbitration is considered to be part of a broader legal services industry. And there are many countries in the world I could speak of. England is a good example, the United Kingdom. But in a developing world, we can, or in other societies, we can think of Singapore. We can think within the context of the Caribbean, of Bermuda, of Cayman, and so on, that have sought to build out on legal services. Now, there's a statistic which a lot of persons wouldn't know, but I'll bring to bear. In 2016, for the very first time, the UK disaggregated the value of legal services to their economy. And they determined that the contribution of legal services to their economy, to their GDP, was £25.7 billion net, with fee income, legal services fee income having been £31.9 billion. Now, what for me was most startling was that they found that while over the last 10 years, the general economy was growing at 1.2%, legal services was growing at 3%. More importantly even, they found that of the contribution, that £25.7 billion contribution to the GDP, 73.2% of it was export value, meaning their lawyers and legal service providers, including arbitrators, going abroad to do work and repatriating the funds, or persons traveling to the UK to do it. We could speak of similar figures, though not as big, clearly, in relation to Cayman, In 2007, for example, Oxford did a study in Cayman which found that the contribution of legal services there was, I think, $1.3 billion. Within another 10 years, that has gone up to 1.5 billion, sort of thing. So we're seeing figures moving. The British Virgin Islands, in fact, tells persons now that even though we speak of them as an offshore financial services sector.
And you worked in the...
And I was the Attorney General there for
Attorney
3
General
years.
there, yeah.
For 3 years, in fact. And they tell you, we do not sell financial services, we sell legal services. Because at the core of financial services...
Are legal services?
Are legal services. The transactions, the drafting of documents, and all the other things that you put in place for this to work. So we have to now start seeing legal services for what it is.
So what you
its
said,
own
Dr.
industry.
Malcolm, is that the more we establish ourselves
Yes.
as an arbitration center, the greater attractiveness we will have as a center also for financial services. And this has been one area that Jamaica has been trying to tap into for a
But go
long
beyond that, Ian. The logistics hub is being established.
Yes.
What is at the core of logistics?
Of course.
Movement and contracts, supply contracts, and all the other things related to that.
Yes.
All of it about legal services. More importantly, as we get there, for international business transactions, whether they're trade and commerce or commercial, arbitration is the singular most important mechanism for resolving disputes. And the reason for this is when you have persons being cross-border, different countries, China, Japan, Hong Kong, Brazil, wherever transacting, each party there saying, I don't trust your legal system, so let us find somewhere
They
neutral.
want somewhere neutral.
And arbitration becomes important. Why? Because a judgment, say, issued in Jamaica in the Jamaican law, is a judgment which is restricted, if essential, to the Jamaican jurisdiction. With arbitration, because Jamaica is a signatory to the New York Convention with 147 plus countries, when you get an arbitration award in Jamaica, it is treated as though it is a local judgment in 146 other countries. So you can immediately go there, subject to local conditions and local laws, and simply take your award there and say, I'm here to enforce it. You can't do the same with a judgment. So it becomes attractive for that reason to international commercial practitioners. Now, what is again important is that while we're looking now at the broader context, we now start looking at support industries.
Yes.
So every center where arbitration has grown, the leading support center to it is tourism. Tourism for the arbitrators coming in, tourism for the conferences. We, for example, just had a conference here. We're expecting that to grow and grow significantly. And you're talking about higher end tourism.
Yes.
And
because arbitration can go on for months.
Can go on for months, years, even if it's a big nuclear arbitration that could go on for years.
Yes.
And at the time, what the arbitration centers worldwide will tell you is that they find when persons are trying to find a place to go with their arbitration, what is at the top of their list, they actually usually ask, what can we do in our downtime? How can we plan a family vacation?
Yes.
And these other things, and that is where tourism comes in.
That's exciting. So, Mr. Ferron, this is a big area for Jamaican business.
Oh yes,
The commerce must be excited about this.
Yes, we are. It's something that we had pursued on a much smaller scale and without the benefit of the recent act. You know, we have had some stalwart members of the chamber over the years who have been very interested in doing this. Yes. The act now makes it a lot easier to get these things done. And as Dr. Malcolm is pointing out, internationalizes the scenario, which we didn't have that, we were looking at that before. So it's something that we're very excited about. We're very committed to it. And over the months and years ahead, because it is going to take some time.
Yes.
You will be seeing us collaborating on rolling out new activities, new initiatives to get ourselves further up that index of arbitration centers.
Excellent. We are certainly buoyed by the very good news, gentlemen, that you have brought today. We have been speaking to the Secretary General of the Jamaica International Arbitration Center, Dr. Christopher Malcolm, and the CEO of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Trevor Ferron. And they have been telling us how government's passage of the new arbitration law has really facilitated a significant economic and social development opportunity for the country. Next week I'll be back. Until then, Ian Bourne wishing you a very pleasant day.
Let's get a little breeze on this land. Now let's get some bounce in the rhythm. All right. Let's get some fire on our hearts. Now that is what we call all right. Run, come, get some Jamaica.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information is committed to ensuring that every Jamaican child has the best learning environment to thrive and needs your cooperation to make the education system work successfully. That is why we are ensuring that all Jamaicans have full access to secondary education. Tuition is free of cost to you, but the government can't pay for everything, so do continue with your voluntary contributions. These contributions cover the expenses of co-curricular and sports activities and school development projects. We have also increased our support for PATH students. That's right, PATH students are not expected to make contributions, and they will be provided with 5 days of free lunches. We know that a hungry child cannot learn. The ministry has implemented a literature book rental program, free insurance and IDs for PATH students in high schools. This government cares for you. We believe that every child can learn. Every child must learn.
Tomorrow is the official start of the new school year. As you clean your shoes, iron your uniforms, and put the final touches on your lesson plans, students, remember to be careful when traversing the streets. Teachers, take time out to know your students so you can identify when something is not right. For more tips on how to stay safe in school this year, watch this next feature.
See, the primary responsibility is to ensure that children, the care and protection of children and children who are at risk. So that's our mandate. We know that some children have to traverse the roads going home. They walk. We ask them to walk in pairs or in groups. We ask them not to play on the road, because they get distracted. For the bigger ones, we ask them not to use their mobile devices on the road, because you are not as alert as you should be when you are distracted. As best as possible, accompany the child or have somebody accompany them. If you have a taxi person or a bus that picks them up, make sure you know the persons who are taking the children, Make sure you know the time they should get home. Have some way of being in contact with the drivers during the period to make sure that they are home when they should be home, so that if anything happens, you have a shorter window for action. What we want to say to teachers, know the students, know them, know their habits, know the general department and how they present themselves each day. So if there's a change in that, a child who is very talkative, all of a sudden not talking, withdrawing, a child who is crying, of course there are the physical signs, a child with a broken arm, there's a burn mark, and if you use an iron to burn a child, you would see the mark, that kind of thing. So we ask them to be very observant. We ask them, and I know the PTA is very critical, so you get to know your parents, you get to know your teachers, right? So we ask the teachers, as best as possible, get to know the parents, so that if there is a change in behavior, even a slight shift, you can inquire as to what is the situation. Obviously, you could have the grades falling, for example. A child who is in kindergarten starting to wet themselves again. And so if there is an issue, they have to do the regular reporting to the OCR. They can report directly to the CDA as well. We have responsibility for wards of the state, and I really want to appeal to our teachers, our school community. We don't want them to treat the wards of the state as being different from any other child. They talk about being stigmatized, we talk about the children who are on PATH, people really give you some horror stories about how they are treated. We want to encourage our school community, just treat them as any other child, right? Some of them have some special needs, you know, need probably a little more help, but we are asking that as best as possible look out for the children and our special needs children who are not like others in terms of physical sense probably, or even intellectually. We're asking that special provisions must be made for them within the school community.
More life.
More memories.
More moments.
Jamaica Moves is a call to action to prevent non-communicable diseases. Get active, eat healthy. You can protect yourself from high blood pressure, obesity, asthma, certain cancer diseases, and more.
I would like to remind every Jamaican that we all have a responsibility to help schools. So I invite community members to support and to care for the educational institutions located in your areas.
Yo, this is We're committed to reducing the impact of disasters occurring in Jamaica. We're ever ready to assist you before, during, and after a disaster. But everybody have a role to play, so make we work together and follow the plan. Whether rich or poor or where you come from, hurricanes affect everyone, so be prepared. Prevention is better than cure. Be prepared. Listen to OPM.
A message from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management.
A bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because its trust is not on the branch, but on its own wings. Always believe in yourself. As you head off to school tomorrow, believe in yourself and trust that you can achieve anything you set your mind to. I hope you found our program informative. Send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm. Stay informed on our social media pages, Instagram, Facebook, and of course Twitter. You can also visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for more information. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.